I want to make a confession. I have a bad habit. It's not an addiction. It doesn't harm me, it doesn't harm society, it doesn't harm anybody. Maybe it may hurt 2 or 3 people in the whole country, but it is still a bad thing to do. Once a month, the urge to practice this bad habit provokes me while I am walking on a busy street, and where there are lots of people coming and going, and where there are some street sellers on the both sides. And at these kind of times, when I know that I am on the right spot, I approach the guy whom I know that he is the seller. I approach the guy and whisper what I want. I know that neither the laws nor the society approves me or the people like me. So, I will make a confession. I buy and consume this. This is a pirated book. I bought it in Kadıköy on Halita Street for one third of the price, the original price. Once a month, I find myself on that kind of busy streets when I heard that there is a bestseller book, but it is labeled as lame. It is labeled as waste of time and money. But when I hear this kind of books, I feel a temptation and I cannot resist it. And I need to give this type of books, a chance. So, if I like it, I go to a DNR store and I buy the original one. But if I don't like the pirate copy, I just leave it near to a trash dumpster on the street for the paper collector guys. I know that they feel happy when they find a book near the trash dumpsters. So, the more I know that I am doing a bad thing. I know that I am helping the thieves to steal the rights from somebody, and they are making illegal money. But the more I consume this illegal thing, the more questions arises in my mind. I constantly ask myself that, is this illegal book, this pirated version, is the only thing that harms a writer? Or maybe pirate publishing is doing a good thing for the society? And sometimes I ask myself, Ender, are you really supporting the pirate publishing industry? Or are you just criticizing the status quo? Here are my answers. Imagine that you see a book on a DNR shelf with a price tag of 30 liras. This is an average original book's price. Only 10% of this price tag goes to the writer as the license fee, as the intellectual property right. And 5 liras goes to the publishing houses. And 6 liras goes to the state as the taxes. And this makes 16 liras. How about the remaining 14 liras of that 30 liras? It goes to the retailers, like DNR. Because DNR has nearly 50% of market share in Turkey. So, we know the state and the retailer companies use that money to run their own businesses and the country, but at the same time, they may be using this money to make a leverage for the other writers or other books. And they are mostly religious and political propaganda tools for the state and the retailer companies. So, how does it sound to you? Does it sound like a violation of intellectual property right? I think so. I think the government and the retailer companies taking money of the writers and they are paying this money to other writers and other books. And talking about the intellectual property rights, I think the libraries are one of the biggest problems of a writer. Why? Because when a book is on the shelf of a library, it is approximately read by 4.7 people on average, which means 85% of revenue loss for a writer. But in our country, the state knows this problem and the number of libraries is diminishing in a very fast manner, you know. And our society, our people, do not like to go to the libraries since we care about the rights of the writers. Unlike the Western world. In the Western world, the states are constantly opening new libraries, and the percentage of the populations in some countries is increasing who goes to the libraries. That's a shame for the Western world, considering the intellectual property rights. So, as the last answer and to my last question, am I really supporting the pirate publishing industry? No. I am against these illegal activities of these pirate publishing companies. But I am also against the retail policies of these retailers. I am against the publishing policies governed by the state. And I am for the poor people who needs more books for more reasonable prices. As one of my pirates said to me that the pirates are street lights. They stand on the streets and they give lights to the people for much cheaper prices.